So good evening, everybody. Hope you had a fantastic day in school today. My name is Abdulativa Dedeji, and I'm super excited to welcome you all to this webinar on Bloom Taxonomy. So excited. I'm glad to have you all here. If you're joining, you're welcome. If you're watching, listening to the recording, I'm so glad that you're here. So tonight we're going to be talking about Bloom Taxonomy. So what is Bloom Taxonomy and why should we make use of it in our classroom? So things we're going to be learning today, we're going to be learning what Bloom Taxonomy is all about, its levels. Though Bloom Taxonomy is majorly classified into three. We have the affective domain, or we have the taxonomy of learning itself, and that is we have the affective domain, we have the psychomotor domain, and then we have the cognitive domain. But tonight, our Bloom Taxonomy is just going to be focusing on cognitive domain. Okay, so we will talk about Bloom Taxonomy in respect with regard to the cognitive domains. Okay, so I hope so. Please confirm if you can still hear me clearly. Just drop a comment in the group. Let me know that you can still hear me clearly. Can you still hear me clearly before I move ahead? Yes, because it's being recorded now and I won't. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad you can still hear me. So what is Bloom taxonomy? So Bloom taxonomy itself is not a method of teaching, one, and it's not an approach to teaching. It's simply a framework. It's a framework, and it's as simple as it's a framework for categorizing educational goals. That's just it. So, and when we talk about goals in this sense, we're talking about learning objective. So, put it another way, Bloom taxonomy is just a way of categorizing learning objective or categorizing educational goals. So, it is actually designed to help educators create more effective teaching and learning experience by providing a structured approach to developing and assessing cognitive skills. So, as I said, that our focus tonight is going to be on Bloom taxonomy. Our focus tonight is going to be on cognitive domain. So when we talk about Bloom taxonomy, just an approach or a structured approach to we developing and assessing cognitive skills. Okay, so we don't just come inside a class and just teach and just expect our students to just learn how to read and write, think critically, think creatively, and do all those things. No, Bloom taxonomy wants to help us to creatively to systematically structure our teaching and learning in a way that we can effectively develop essential cognitive skills in our students, and we can also assess those skills. And that's why we have levels. So the biggest one of the biggest challenges we have in our education in the educational space is that most teachers don't even understand what Bloom taxonomy is about. Okay, so our most of the time our learning objective only cater for just a part of the Bloom taxonomy, of the levels of the Bloom taxonomy. And this is one of the major challenge we have in the education sector. Why? Because it's literally put our students in a box. Put them in a box. It limits their learning. Okay, I can see we have more people joining us. It limits their learning, and it limits the impact of education. And guess what? We are in this 21st century where the demand of education in 21st century is completely different from the demand of education in the 28th or 19th century. So, which means we can't afford to just teach students how to read and write. Can't afford to just teach students to recall facts. We can't afford that. We have to go beyond that. We have to equip our students with the skills and knowledge they need, with critical skills that they need to be able to thrive in the 21st century. And this is one of the reasons why we have to understand Bloom taxonomy, because it helps us to systematically work towards it. It helps us systematically satisfy the needs of our students in different areas. So to start with, we talk about, so the 6 levels of Bloom taxonomy is actually a classification of skills that students need to know, okay, and that they need to have. And Bloom taxonomy itself was developed first in 1956 by a committee of educators that is chaired by Benjamin Bloom, and that's why we call it Bloom taxonomy, because the major person, the main man, the chairman of the the chairman of the committee that developed the approach or the framework was Mr. Benjamin Bloom. But guess what? In 2001, the Bloom taxonomy was revised. So before the Bloom taxonomy, before the Bloom taxonomy is, the 6 levels of Bloom taxonomy are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating. Remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating. Those are the levels of Bloom taxonomy before, that was proposed since 1956. But in 2001, it was revised. So I call this one the 21st century revision. Why? So the new Bloom taxonomy now read like this. We have the remembering, we have the understanding, we have the applying, we have the analysis. But instead of having synthesis, we now have evaluating as the 5th one, and we have curating as the 6th one. So curating is more like synthesizing too. Okay, but the idea is that emphasis on curating, and curating should come after evaluating. So we're going to talk about each of the levels now. Okay, please let me know, are you still here with me? Can you still hear me clearly? Please let me know if you can still hear me clearly. Can you still hear me clearly? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. So that's the Bloom taxonomy. So now we start with the levels of Bloom taxonomy. So what are the levels of Bloom taxonomy? But before I explain that, as I've explained that, taxonomy is just like a category, a way of categorizing. You can call it a way of categorizing educational goals, but it's also a way of categorizing skills, of cognitive skills. Yes, a way of categorizing cognitive skills, or a way of measuring, a way of assessing cognitive skills. So these cognitive skills, based on the Bloom taxonomy, there are 6. Now these 6 cognitive skills, they are the remembering, the understanding, apply. Can please someone type it out? Remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and curating. So those are the 6 levels. Now these 6 levels are divided into 2. We have the lower order thinking skills and the higher order thinking skills. Lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skill. Now, lower order thinking skills are the skills that don't require much of thinking. They don't require much of new things. They don't require students using their thinking faculty. They don't require students thinking critically. So those are the lower order thinking skills. They require thinking, but not as much. Then higher order thinking skills are skills that stimulate the student thinking. So lower order thinking skills, the way we evaluate lower order thinking skills are questions or things that don't require students to think. That students you can give them question and they can give you the answer immediately without much thinking. Okay, but for higher order thinking skills, it stimulates critical thinking. Students have to think, like they have to think and think and think before they can be able to answer the question. So they don't just answer. And the difference between this is that students lower order thinking skills is basically more of, so let me explain the 2 skills in this way. So lower order thinking skill is more of producing. Okay, now let's use this way. Amazing, I love this. So lower order thinking skills, so these skills, as I've said, are divided into 2: lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills. So they are like consumption and production. Okay, they are like consumption and production. So what does that mean? the lower order thinking skills are consumption. It means that students are basically consuming what they have known, or they are basically regurgitating what they have consumed. Okay, so for lower order thinking skills, students are really giving back or using what the teacher has provided for them. But higher order thinking skills require students to consume what they have learned, but not to give back the consumption, but to produce something new, to bring out something new out of what they have been able to consume. Okay, so that's the difference. So for lower order thinking skills, students are basically using what have been given to them, using some other people's information, giving back what have been given to them. But when you talk about higher order thinking skills, students are producing new thing entirely. They are going beyond what the teacher has provided for them, and doing and giving out their own. Okay, so that's the idea of lower and higher order thinking skill. So what are the 6 levels of Bloom taxonomy? As I've explained, number 1 is remembering, number 2 understanding, number 3 applying, number 4 analyzing, number 5 evaluating, and number 6 curating. It is echoing. Whoa, is that, please confirm if that is how it is for every other person. Please confirm that. Is that how it is for every other person, or is it just Mrs. Adenike? Mrs. Nigbinde, rather. So please let me know. Okay, it's very clear over there. Okay, so let me know. I'm waiting for our feedback. Okay, it's clear. It's clear. So probably it's from your end, ma. Might try to use a earpiece. Might try to use a earpiece. Okay, amazing. So let me just continue. So we're going to start from we're going to start now. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Or probably you might or what's it called, leave the chat and join again. Maybe that might help. Okay, so from what I've explained earlier, do you understand what Bloom taxonomy is about? And remember, I asked everybody, make sure you stay to the end. We're going to play game this night on Bloom taxonomy. Yes, we're going to play game. So don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm glad that we understand what Bloom taxonomy is. Just one person. I want more responses, please. Do you understand what Bloom taxonomy is about now? Yes. So if we understand that, then we're not going to move to, and I've explained the 2 category of thinking skill. So from there, what we just do now is we'll move on to the levels of Bloom taxonomy. And as I've said, the first one is remembering. So what does remembering means? So this Bloom taxonomy can be written in 2 ways. It can be written as a verb, and it can be written as a noun. When it's written as a verb, we have when it's as a verb, then we have all these things that we have listed here. You can just scroll up to see what I have listed: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and curating. But when it is as a noun, and I want you to type this out, we have knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, evaluation, and curation. Okay, so when it is as noun, we have it as knowledge, comprehension. So knowledge is representing remembering. Comprehension is representing understanding. Analysis, application is representing applying. Analysis, analyzing. Evaluation, evaluating, and curation, curating. So we talk about knowledge or remembering. That is simply recall of fact. So that is what simply recall of fact. So remember, it's simply recall of fact and basic concept. So the idea of this is that you give your students some information and they are able to give you back the information. For example, you ask something like, what is your name? You ask something like, oh, the current president of Nigeria is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is an information that you have given to them. Now you now ask, who is the president of Nigeria? And they are able to tell you, yes, synthesis means curating. So it is more, curating aligns more with 21st century. And I'm going to explain that when I get there. Okay, so what am I talking about? So remembering, so when you say, okay, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the current president of Nigeria, and your students are able, and you ask them, who is the current president of Nigeria, and they're able to tell you that, okay, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria. That simply means, so that is what knowledge and remembering means. So these include listing. So there are some words that we use. There are some verbs rather that we use for each of these level. So we have something like listing on remembering. We have divine. We have label. For example, you give them a diagram and you tell them what it represents, and now you now draw the same thing on the board, and you ask them to label it, or you ask them to draw the same thing and label it. So that is what remembering. And this is the lowest form. That is the what? The lowest form of cognitive skills. The second one is, so right now we are seeing the lower order thinking skill. The second one is comprehension, which is also called understanding. Okay, so this simply means students are able to explain ideas or concepts. So yes, students go beyond just defining or just recall of facts. The idea is that they recall the fact, but also they ought to understand the fact that they can also explain it. Okay, they can what? Also explain it. So for example, now you have told them, okay, the president of Nigeria is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You can be able to explain what it means to be a president. You'll be able to explain the year or the date that he was inaugurated as a president, that he was sworn in as a president. And amazing. Today make it a year. Okay? So that is what understanding. Remember, we are saying the word lower order thinking skills. So understanding deal with students being able to explain facts. The third one is application. So application or apply means that students are able to use information in new situations. Okay, so they are able to use information in new situation. Okay, so this simply means that, okay, now students have gone past the idea that they can recall facts. They have also gone past the idea of they can recall the fact, they can explain the fact, but now they can also use the information in new situations. Okay, they can be able to use that same information. For example, now you can say, so we already know that. So let me use this way. So for example, we start with, who is the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria, and then you ask them, who is the president of Nigeria? They're able to tell you President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is what remembering. Okay, that is what remembering. The second one, comprehension, is the students are able to tell you what it means to be president, the day he was sworn in, his political party, his vice president, things like that. But application would be you saying the president of Nigeria went to so. Okay, let's say the president of Nigeria is the chairman of ECOWAS. The president of Nigeria is the chairman of ECOWAS. That's like a statement. You now ask, who is the chairman of ECOWAS? Who is the chairman of ECOWAS? We started by telling ourselves that the president of Nigeria is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now we now say, So going further, maybe after a lot of discussion, I'll say, okay, the president of Nigeria is also, excuse me, is also the chairman of ECOWAS. So we are now asking, who is the chairman of ECOWAS? So what this means is that we are asking the students to apply the information they have heard or they have been told about the president of Nigeria to apply it in the ECOWAS context. So applying means that they have to be able to tell you that, okay, the chairman of ECOWAS, who is also the same, who is also the president of Nigeria, is what? Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So they are able to apply the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria. They're able to apply it in the chairman, also in the context of being a chairman of what? ECOWAS. Okay, so that's application. So okay, I forgot to explain this. So in comparison, we use words like summarize, describe, interpret. In knowledge, we use words like list, define, label, and we ask questions like what is dash, who was dash. Things that require straight answer, they require less of thinking. Comprehension, on the other hand, we have words like summarize, describe, interpret. Okay, interpret, summarize, describe. Also, and then we have question like explain in your own words. Okay, for example, you have given them a definition of a particular term. Can ask students to test their understanding. You have explained it to them, but now ask them to explain it in their own words. Okay, you can tell them a particular story. Okay, you can tell them a particular story, give them some notes, and ask them to summarize it. You can ask them the main idea in that particular story they have just narrated. All this can only happen when you understand what you're talking about. So remember that Bloom taxonomy is a way of categorizing cognitive skills or educational goals, but it's a way of assessing them too. So the third one, application, as I've said, is using information in new situations. So the words we use are use. For example, now we're dealing with mathematics now. You can say use the quadratic formula to solve the following quadratic equation. Use. Other one, you can say solve. Okay, solve the following equation. Solve the simultaneous equation. What it means is that we have teach them something. Now we are asking them to solve using the knowledge that we have taught them. Also, demonstrate. You have teach them how to use something. For example, you have teach them, let me say, you have teach them how to draw a particular fish in a biology class. You have teach them how to use a puppet or a burette. Yes, I think, is it burette? Yes. Now using in chemistry practical. You have teach them how to use the set square, use the protector. So you can ask them to demonstrate the use of it. That's what application. So all these things that I've mentioned, they are what? The lower order thinking skill. Are we still together, please? Please let me know if we are still together. Okay. Then those are the lower order thinking skills. All these do not require the student to think critically, and this is why we have to go beyond this. Fundamentally, these are the things that most schools focus on. Most teachers focus on in the classroom. So we are, in fact, most of the time, our exam and our test revolves around these three things. We test the recall of fact. We ask students to explain, and we also ask students to solve or to use information in some new way. Okay, that's what we do most of the time. But it does not have to be, and it should not. What's it called? It should not end there. So the next one is analysis. The next one is analysis. And what does analysis mean? Analysis simply means drawing connections among ideas. Drawing connections among ideas. So this means that beyond student understanding and able to apply an idea, they are able to analyze, they are able to, and this is very, very important for critical thinking skill, because by definition, critical thinking is simply student being able to put it in a simple word, student being able to analyze, being able to judge an idea, judge the effectiveness of an idea, the authenticity of an idea, being able to judge the genuineness, being able to recognize a facts from lies, being able to recognize biases, being able to recognize things that people just tell you, being able to organize things that are wrong, things that are right, or being able to bring up a main idea out of a general idea. So, critical thinking is more convergent. You have, for example, now someone come here and give you a lot of stories, and after having given that story, your own is to be able to understand, okay, what is the main point that this person is trying to communicate? Why is this person telling me this? Or why is this thing this way? Why is this thing this way? That's analysis. So we go beyond it. For example, now we have talked about President of Nigeria. We can ask, okay, why is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the President of Nigeria? How did President Mohammed Bola not Mohammed now Bola Ahmed Tinubu, how did he become the President of Nigeria? So now start analyzing it. Okay, there was an election. APC did this. PDP have this vote. Labour Party have this vote. Three major contestants, three major politicians contest together. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and some other oppositions. And out of them, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as the winner with the number of states and so on and so forth. Analysis. So what makes the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what makes the president? So it's about analyzing facts. It's about we going beyond what we already know. As I said, no other thing is more of consumption. So they give you something and you just stay there, and they ask you, okay, what did I give you? So let me use this as it. So so lower order thinking skill is more like when you sell, you buy something at 15 naira and you sell it at 15 naira. So you simply give them what they have given you. Okay, you simply give them what they have given you. But in higher order thinking skill, you are looking for profit. Okay, I have learned this thing that my teacher is teaching me, but I want to know more. So you want to take the teaching, you want your student to take the teaching beyond what I've just been taught. Because when you say applying is basically is more of applying the information the teacher has given. But analysis is that the students are going beyond what they have. They're not trying to analyze the facts. So that's when they start asking the question of why. Why is this? How does this relate to dash? How does this particular fact relate to another fact? So it is what? Analysis. How does, for example, you ask, how does the rate of dollar exchange costs relate to the cost of things in Nigeria? Okay, so questions that force students to think. That is what analysis. And what are the verbs we use in example of verbs we use in analysis is analyze, compare, and contrast. Analyze, compare. So we're comparing two things. Comparing means that we're trying to find the similarity between two things. Contrast is we're trying to, so we can say, so in most questions we have, actually in most of the social sciences, we have something like compare and contrast. Compare is representing similarities, contrast representing differences. So we're trying to analyze two things, trying to get the differences, and we're trying to get the similarities. Can also use the word analyze. And I've given to an example of that is, how does this relate to this? How does that relate to this? Or we can ask questions like, why? Why is this this? The fifth one is evaluation. And this is where we justify. We justify a stance or decision. So the idea is that we have known why something is that. But evaluation is to know, okay, is this right? Is this effective? Is this the best way? So for example, we have Bloom taxonomy before, and the Bloom taxonomy only have synthesis before evaluation. But then later it was revised to give us evaluation before curating, which is representing synthesis now. The idea of this is that for any kind of improvement, they have to be what? Analysis. Yes, for any kind of improvement, they have to be what? Analysis. I mean, you have to understand what is going on. For example, the guys that improve upon the Bloom taxonomy, they cannot improve on it if they don't first understand what is on ground, and they have analyzed it and said that, okay, this thing can get better. So the stage where you now evaluate what you have already, analysis is you analyze the data you have. Evaluation is making decision out of just analysis, or being able to generate conclusion out of those what analysis. So you have asked the question why in the analysis stage. Evaluation is now after you know the why. Is that okay? Is that fine? So we are going beyond what you just know. So this one is we're trying to judge. So we use word like judge, critic, recommend. So evaluation deals with more of looking for loopholes, looking for why something. So beyond just looking for the reason why it is, we're asking more of question of, okay, so if this, is that the only way we can do it? Is that the best way of doing it? Okay, so that's what evaluation. Now the last one is what? Curation. So curation is simply means producing new or original work. So this comes from you have analyzed something, you have evaluated to know whether it's good or bad, whether it can be improved on or not improved on, and you have made recommendations during the evaluation process. Curation is implementation. Curation is implementation of a recommendation. So in your evaluation stage, you have been able to, you have decided, or you have been able to realize that this thing can be done in a better way. Okay, in a particular way, it can be done in a better way, and you have make your recommendation in the evaluation stage. Now the curation stage is when you now put into use that recommendation, and this is where we have new things. Okay, so we have words, we use words like design, construct, plan. We ask questions like, how would you curate dash, or how would you use dash? What would happen if? So we have recommended. So we're asking, okay, what would happen if we do it this way? So we are curating. Now, what is the implication of all these things, especially to our education, is that we're currently in the 21st century, and whether we like it or not, whether you agree to it or not, whether you accept or not, things are changing, and they are changing very fast. The demand of education in the 21st century is not the demand of education in this century. In this century, we are not expected to produce job seekers. We are not expected to produce people who just can recall information, who can do. Let me give you this quote, this saying by Napoleon Hill. So you should know Napoleon Hill is the author of Think and Grow Rich. I recommend the book. So Napoleon Hill says something. He said, there are two types of persons who will not get ahead in life. Number one is the person who will not do what is asked to do. And the second one is the person who will not go beyond what he is asked to do. Do we get that? Please let me know. Are you following me? Are we together, please? Let me know if you're together. We're rounding off already. I don't want this to be long at all. Yes, we're moving on to the end of the session. So what do you say? Are we together, please? I need to know. I need to hear from you. Are we together? Am I the only one here? I don't want to be the only one here, please. I don't want to be the only one here. Let me know. Are we together? Can you still hear me? Okay, I can say thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim. Okay, so as I was explaining, so Napoleon said there are two persons that are not going to get ahead in life. The first one is people who don't do what they are asked to do. Now, doing what we are asked to do is the lower order thinking skill. Now, the second part of that quote is people who will not go beyond what they are asked to do, who will only do what they are asked to do. So what it means is that it is not enough to do what you are asked to do. You have to be able to do beyond that. You have to be able to use your own personal initiative. That's what we call it. Personal initiative. You have to be able to make your own decisions. You have to be able to think outside the box. Now, these are the type of person we need. In the 28th century, it is okay to be the type of person who only do what you are asked to do, who only do what you are told to do. in the 21st century, employers are looking for people who can think on their own, who can bring up new ideas, who can generate ideas, who can think creatively, can think critically, can communicate their ideas, who can work with other people. All this requires more than the lower order thinking skills, require more than just recalling information, explaining information, and applying information. It requires us to go beyond, above and beyond, to that stage where students can analyze ideas, evaluate it, and create something new out of it. And this is the type of learning we need. So the idea of this is that in the classroom, we have to go beyond, what's it called? We have to go beyond just this, the three basic level of Bloom taxonomy. We have to find ways to work around, to introduce our students to the other skills. So when dealing with any this thing, so you can give them activities that show them how to that give them the opportunity to analyze, to evaluate, and to create. And I'm going to show you how to do just this. So what are the things you need to have in mind when implementing the Bloom taxonomy? Number one is that the idea of when using Bloom taxonomy, the major thing about using Bloom taxonomy is that you have to be able to balance all the levels. We are not saying that creating is more important than knowledge. No, both are important. The only challenge we have is that we limit ourselves to the lower order thinking skill. So balance the levels. Yes, balance the levels. So don't just let your students be used to one question. And guess what? These things are very boring. Once they already know that in the exam, the only thing you're going to ask is what is clinical. So the problem with this is that when you only focus on learning or recalling of facts, that's when students have to memorize. When students understand, when you have presentation in class, students analyze information, they ask why, they do presentation, they explain, they evaluate ideas. They don't have to cram because they understand the information deeply and they're able to apply it. So when you ask them any question, they are able to put it in their own words. They're able to explain it. And I am very sure, and I really hope that we don't still have teachers, or even if you have them, they are not here. Teachers who expect students to give them exactly the way, to give them information exactly the way they give the students. No, it does not have to be. That is what we are. When we do that, we are actually encouraging good memorization. So another thing is use appropriate verbs. And this is talking about, so when we talk about educational goals, we're talking about the learning objective. And how do you use the learning, the Bloom taxonomy? So when we talk about, when I say balance the levels, it means in your learning objective, you're going to ask things like, by the end of the lesson, students should be able to do this, students should be able to do that, should be able to explain or define a noun, they should be able to list the types of noun, and be able to do all these things. Don't just let your objective to be knowing, to be remembering, understanding, and applying. Go beyond that. Just be able to compare and contrast the democratic system of United States and Nigeria. Okay, students should be able to compare and contrast the economy of Nigeria during President Muhammadu Buhari's regime and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So things that require them to even make more research, to require them to go out of the box, go out of their comfort zone. Also, use appropriate verbs. Use appropriate verbs. That's why I give examples of different types of verbs. There are more of it. You can go on Google and search verbs, Bloom taxonomy, and its respective verbs. They're going to give, you're going to see a lot of them. There are many of them. Okay, and also part of the way you can use Bloom taxonomy is also for assessment. Okay, so when dealing with formative assessment, you can make use of lower order thinking skill for formative assessment. You want to quickly understand whether your students are with you. You want to quickly get to know what they are learning. You want to evaluate them on the go. Okay, you can make use of formative assessment for that, and we can use the lower order thinking skill. Okay, apply this, solve this, or explain this, say this in your own words. But then, so we can also use the summative. We can use Bloom taxonomy to also assess students summatively, and that's by making use of things like essay. This time around, we're asking them to analyze, we're asking them to present, we're asking them to summarize, we're asking them to explain a particular concept in detail, asking them to compare and contrast two particular this thing in a particular environment. That is simply the idea of what? Bloom taxonomy. So what are the advantages or benefits of using Bloom taxonomy? Before I do that, let me know, are you with me? Are we together? We're almost done. This is the last thing we're talking about. Yes, yes. Okay, as I said, there's going to be a game, but the game, due to some reasons, we're not going to have it during this session because of our time. I'm going to drop the link here. Yes, I'm going to drop the link here, and I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to drop the link in the WhatsApp group so that we can. So the game is to evaluate our understanding of what we have learned tonight. Okay, I'm going to see how we're going to use that. So what are the benefits of implementing the Bloom taxonomy? Sorry, I want to say flip classroom. Implementing the Bloom taxonomy. Number one is structured learning objectives. So when you guys your learning objective, you're not just writing anything, you're not just writing anyhow, you're not just writing just the way you want or the way it just comes to your mind. Your learning objective is structured. Why? Because it is based on each level of Bloom taxonomy. So you already know, okay, and that okay, your first learning objective is going to be on remembering and understanding together. So you can say, so you should be able to list and explain now. Okay, you know that okay, your second objective is going to be on applying. Okay, your third objective is going to be on what is it called? On analyzing or evaluating. So what this means that you are not just giving out you're not just giving out this thing, you're not just giving out objective, you're not just writing objective and writing it anyway. It is specific. And you know, your objective is going to determine what you're going to teach. It's going to determine your objective is simply what you want your student to achieve at the end of the lesson. So it's going to determine how you're going to structure your lesson. Okay. Another benefit is balanced instruction. So it makes your instruction to cater for both lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills. So we are not just focusing on one and neglecting the other. We are working with both of them. Another one is improved assessment design. So it also improves the way you assess, because now you are able to assess based on the different levels of cognitive or of cognitive domain of the student. So you know that okay, I'm trying to assess remembering here. So you're going to have a question that is structured to that end. I'm trying to assess understanding here. I'm trying to assess application. I'm trying to assess analysis. I'm trying to assess creation. I'm trying to assess evaluation. Things like that. So improved assessment design. It helps you to evaluate all the assessments. Another one is it encourages higher order thinking skills. When you start using Bloom taxonomy, then you can go beyond just lower order thinking skills, and you can work with what? Higher order thinking skills. You can help your students, you can equip them with the skills, give them that opportunity, equip them with experience, use activities that can enable them to develop what? Higher order thinking skills. Another one is it enhanced student engagement. See, whenever you realize that it is okay, even when you go beyond just dealing with level of understanding alone, just working with understanding and asking students to explain in their own words, make your class engaging, because everybody wants to talk. Everybody is saying things from their own point of view, not regurgitating the facts that you're giving them. Also, when you take it to applied, create analysis, you put them into group, ask them to work together, collaborate together to analyze, to come together. You have each group to analyze on a particular idea, not just an analysis, evaluate it, and then curate. For example, you can ask them to what's it called? You can give your students, put them into group and ask them to compare and contrast the system of government or the first year of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office. Okay, so they analyze it. You give them like key metrics to work with to analyze the present performance in the past 1 year. They analyze it, they evaluate it. So analysis means they get all the information, They evaluate it. Is it okay? And then they make recommendations. Now they work together, and they can now come and predict it. They come and present it. So you can ask them after they have done this. You can ask them now to give us a one-day president, or to give them a president in their group. So this president is going to be the one to come up, and based on the evaluation of what the president has been able to do, they'll be able to suggest and say, okay, if I were to be the president of Nigeria, these are the things I'm going to do differently. It's going to make your classroom engaging. And lastly, which is also very related to the last one I explained, it facilitates active learning. It facilitates active learning. So it ensures that students work together. Students are not just a container, they're not just empty container that just get filled up. They're not just sitting passively in the classroom while you act as a sage on the stage. No, they are working together with you. They are active, they participate actively, they engage actively in classroom. Okay, so that's all about the Bloom taxonomy. And also, what I'm going to say is that, so if you're wondering, okay, how do I start using Bloom taxonomy, or how do I structure questions that relate to this? How do I plan my activities to make use of this? Here is something you can do. So if you cannot do this on your own, you can make use of AI. Go to ChatGPT and prompt it. Tell it that, okay, you want to teach. You can ask it to develop a lesson plan, a comprehensive lesson plan, a comprehensive lesson plan that accommodates, or that that focus, or that take into consideration all the 6 levels of Bloom taxonomy on let's say on pollination or on transportation for grade 5. Is going to give you a detailed lesson plan. Can even ask it suggesting activities that can make the learning engaging. Activities, not just that. Can ask it to give you practical examples. Can ask it to give you even apart from all this, you can ask all this AI to generate questions for you. So, for example, now you have taught a particular topic, and now you are at the crossroad of not just asking questions that correlate with remembering, understanding, and applying. You can ask it to construct questions for you that evaluates the creating parts of the Bloom taxonomy. It's going to do it for you. These are the work. So all these AI, all these tools are not just there. They are meant to help you. They are meant to improve your teaching and learning. So let me know. So this is why we're going to call it a night. Do you gain value from this? Do you learn at all from this? Does it make sense at all? So let me have your feedback, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim, for sending this in. I really appreciate it. So do you have any question? Do you have any question before we call it a day? Yes, do you have any question? So while we're waiting for a question, I just want to, I've posted this in our groups already. I just want to remind you and also give you a very rare opportunity. I put it as close before, but I want to give that to you again. For my upcoming training titled Student-Centered Tech Integration Masterclass. Student-Centered Tech Integration Masterclass. So the Student-Centered Tech Integration Masterclass is a 3 days of intensive training that's going to take you through how to leverage technology to enhance student-centered learning. And part of what we're going to be working on is how to make use of AI tools to plan your lesson, to facilitate student-centered learning. And we can't talk about all these things without talking about Bloom taxonomy. That's why I have to come up and have Bloom taxonomy. Have this training on Bloom taxonomy. We're going to, in the training itself, we're going to see how to practicalize all these things, how to use all this AI. As I've given examples of how to generate prompts, you're going to see it practically, see it being done, on how to use AI to generate all this lesson plan that accommodate all the 6 levels of the Bloom taxonomy. We're going to learn how to create videos, how to use learning management system, how to evaluate your student assessment. And I'm going to see the type of assessment that we're going to be learning. So I'm going to drop a link in, this is 9:30, before 10 o'clock. I'm going to drop a link on this Telegram group and on the WhatsApp group to evaluate what you have learned this night. You're going to see how it's going to be like a game. Okay, you're going to see how it's going to be, how interesting and engaging it's going to be. These are part of the things you're going to learn. So, as I've mentioned earlier in a lot of my posts, the registration fee for the masterclass is actually 5,000 naira per teacher, and it has been made affordable already for everybody. But guess what? We are adding. I'm giving a early bird discount to just 5 persons at just 3,000 naira. So if you are interested, you can just let me know. I'm going to drop the details of the masterclass now in the Telegram group. If you are interested, just make the payment and send me the proof of payment, and are going to be added to the group. This thing is coming up. So the training is coming up on June 6th, Thursday. It's going to be a 3 days training, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay. So let me know. Please let me know if you have any question before I round up. Is there any question? Is there any question? Do you have any question, please? Do you have any question? Please let me know if you have any question. All right, I'm sending this thing in now. So if you're interested, just make the payment. Take advantage of the 3,000 naira discount. I'm glad it's what your wife, Mr. Ibrahim. Thank you so much for joining. So I've just sent this thing now. You can go through it to understand what the training is about. Okay, do you have a question, Mr. Ibrahim? Okay, let me just, yes. So I've unmuted you, sir. You can unmute to ask your question before we call it a night. Okay, I'm not sure. So I've just unmuted you. Do you have any question? I can see that you raised your hand. Okay, I'm not sure you have any question. So do you have any question? So let me know. How was the training tonight? How was the training? And don't forget. So why this thing is open for 5 teachers? The distance is the LWS discount is ending on Friday by 11:59. From Saturday onward, you're going to have to pay 5,000 as a part of the training. And I have to tell you, this is just the early bird content. Training is worth more than 5,000. You have to. So there's nothing wrong with paying the full amount of money. Okay. Yes, sir. You can go. You can go on, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I just want to ask a question. Do you have any questions, sir? Hello, sir. Do you have any question? Okay. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So, in the absence of questions, we're just going to call this a night. So, I want to appreciate you all. Thank you so very much for joining. I don't take it for granted. I hope you learn one or two things, and I hope that this is going to make a lot of difference in your classroom. If you join late, I'm going to drop the replay in the group immediately. And if you would like to take advantage of the early bird discounts, please go ahead and send me the proof of payment once you're done. Okay, so thank you so much and have a blessed night ahead. Thank you.